also like to bring to the stage our outreach coordinator, Allie Hoffman.
So I'll just ask the basic question. How did you come to the project? What motivated you to make this film?
Well, I grew up in the African American Baptist Church. My father was a minister, my sister's a minister. We have a 6,000 member family mega church. But I never felt accepted in the church. It's a non-affirming church. So I've always been fascinated by the power of faith for both good and evil. So when I had heard about the bill and what was going on in Uganda, it was a sort of very personal story for me.
I'm going to open it up to questions from the audience now.
Is there any relationship with Call Me Kuchu, the movie that was here last year? It's on a similar topic, some overlap of characters and scenes?
Yes, there is some. There's
the question was, is there a relationship between this film and a film that was here last year called Call Me Kuchu?
There's a Bishop Christopher, I think, was in that film. But I think that's about it. I mean, what was important to me with this film is to make a film about the faith leaders and the two sides of the sort of faith debate going on in America too, but in Uganda to the extreme that we just witnessed. So it was very important that this was a faith film about faith leaders. In our campaign, what we're doing is we're going out into faith communities. We've had requests from over 200 churches across America to screen the film.
Wow, awesome.
It's pretty amazing. I went to Fuller Seminary, the largest evangelical seminary in the world in Pasadena, California, and did a panel and screened it there. They invited me to come back, and lots of seminaries across the country have been inviting us to screen. So our goal is to have a dialogue around missionary work, around the kinds of message you're spreading and how those messages get interpreted in the developing world.
And the subjects of the film, the faith leaders of the film, the members of IHOP, how did you approach them to be a part of the project, and what made them agree with you things?
Yeah, it was very charm. No, it wasn't easy. I first approached Joanna Watson, who you met in the film, and Joanna is the one who introduced me to IHOP. And when I went there, the day I got to IHOP, I was extremely nervous. They said, you're part of the gay agenda. But Mike Bickle, the founder and creator of IHOP, he had just done an interview that day that was on the front page of the New York Times, and it was not a flattering portrayal. But he said he didn't care, because he said all press is good press as far as he's concerned. And he said the people who believe what he believes will come to him, and the people who don't, he didn't care about. So he was like, come on in, follow us. They were very open.
Yes.
I wanted to commend you for going into Uganda and showcasing how white supremacy reigns, because essentially I know in the queer community, specifically in Toronto, I can talk about how a lot of people want to condemn Jamaica and places like Uganda and say that it's an African thing, but really it's white supremacy and colonization that's bringing that to Africa, and it's another form of repurposing land and resources from Africans. Even when they talked about how the minister talked about how all this money comes from America and their wealth.
Just wait.
And how that wealth comes from America, it actually comes from slaves. So it's kind of us giving back to the forefathers and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to commend you for shedding light, because a lot of people don't realize that colonization is a part of the homosexual hatred, and it's not necessarily a African Caribbean thing, and so they need to be able to look towards themselves.
Okay.
I was just making a comment about white supremacy and how he brought it to light, and I'm glad that there's people in this audience who can notice that.
Yes. I have another question, but thank you for your
Well, it does certainly show. I mean, one thing that the film shows is that many other representations of this issue and similar issues don't show is the American influence, and especially, as many people in the film, or as a few people in the film said, it was notable that there were white faces showing up in situations throughout Uganda, and that did make a difference. So I don't know if you wanted to comment.
What everyone told me, at IHOP and what Luango says, is that they've lost the culture war here
in the U.S.
In the U.S. And with gay marriage being passed across the country and states, so they feel they're winning in Uganda, and they feel they have this opportunity. And one of the things Kathy Kuma always says, it's like the same way we sort of export our expired pharmaceuticals to the developing world, we export our expired ideas.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the research that the pastor in Boston is doing? And is it formal research in that is he in an institutional program, or is it sort of more of an individual?
So the question is about the representative in Boston who's doing research. What is the nature of that research? Can we access it?
Yeah. Kathy Kuma is a professor at Boston University, and he also so he works for an organization called Political Research Associates, and they research the Christian right. They were the ones who funded. He's done Globalizing the Culture Wars, which is his first report. He's just done another one. He's working on a third one. So he teaches and does research.
Those should be available on their website.
Yes, it's on their website, which is Public Research Associates, Political Research Associates.com.
Sure.
I'm curious about the missionary schools. Do the children receive any education that is not religious? Like, secular subjects like mathematics and things? Or is it exclusively Bible school?
The question was about the schools. Were there other topics, subjects besides religion?
No. It is especially with IHOP. There are many religious schools. There are many missionaries doing great work in Africa. But IHOP, it's just about the preaching the word, and that's all they learn. They don't even really have, they don't do work with orphans or feed the poor. It's strictly getting the word out. And they believe Uganda holds a special place, that Uganda holds a biblical place, being a source of the Nile, and they believe Uganda is the key to the end times.
Sure.
I was wondering if there was any statistics on what the reaction of Ugandan people at large is to that specific bill or to this type of preaching. There were quite a few shots in your film of people looking really blasé or even irritated by the preachers on the streets, and it made me wonder if that's intentional, if people are actually reacting negatively to it.
So what is the response throughout Uganda with both the bill and kind of preaching evangelical?
In response to the bill, it's overwhelmingly in support of the bill.
Oh my
So that's the answer to that question. You should tell us directly
I think
going
it's
to
about-
that office.
I think it's about 90% of the population in Uganda wants to see this bill passed.
Going to the office and somebody said, "Oh, do you support the bill?" And you were shocked because everybody's like,
Oh, I was at a newspaper, and the editor of the newspaper said, okay, and I'm going to just take an informal poll in my office. He goes, everyone in this office, he calls someone over, he's like, do you hate homosexuals? And they're like, of course I hate homosexuals. Do you hate homosexuals? He's like, everyone in this, in his newsroom, this is a newspaper, we're like, yes, we want to see the bill passed. It is very popular. It is obviously really popular, as you saw in Parliament. But the thing is that I'm not sure the 70 will sign the bill because of the threat of aid from Western governments, and which is very important to Museveni and to Uganda. So the bill is often used as a way to distract the public from the corruption and what's really going on. So it's used the same way it's used in America. I don't know about Canada, but the same way it's used in America as a wedge issue. Distract them, create an enemy, create a boogeyman, so that everyone can hate, so they don't have to worry about the corrupt politics and the struggle of their daily lives.
Yes, you in the back in the black.
Thank you for the film. Can you talk about how you came to the decision not to use narration?
The decision not to use narration in the film.
And that was our goal, was to not need to use narration, and that was a lot of discussion with the editors, and our whole group had that conversation. That one of the questions was, would Roger be in the film? Because, as he explained earlier, he has a background that makes this a personal film. But I really don't think that was something that was. It wasn't the way that we wanted to go, and narration and putting you and making that a personal film would have felt more like a storytelling crutch. And the way that we were able to create the film felt like a much more organic and steady way to tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, this is their story. I'm not Ugandan, and there were moments. There was one moment. Okay, so there's a moment where I get outed in Uganda. All of the anti-gay pastors, the one you saw, the ones who throw anti-gay rallies, the really hate-filled pastors, called me to a meeting. I was surrounded by them all. They were filming it. They turned the cameras on me, and they said, "We know you're gay," and we were terrified. And I didn't know what was going to happen, but they decided that, you're kind of, people know you in America, so what we're going to do is we're going to pray for you, and we're going to save you. And so they all laid hands on me, and they said, "We're going to cure you." And it didn't work.
So the first question is about Roger's family, how they've reacted to the film, and the second question is about the LGBT community in Uganda and what is the nature of the community today?
Certain members of my family, they're never going to sort of, accept who I am, so they did not, react so positively, but my mother, who, is very deeply, devoutly religious and reads the Bible every day, has really come around, and she's really respects what I do and respects me as a person, and she's grown. Just the way, so that was really pretty amazing, and it's kind of, showing this film and making this film in a way was, just as you say, for her and for my family, so it was really important that she came around. Okay. The second question.
We've run out of time for questions, but the second question was about the LGBT community and
the thriving, very active, amazing LGBT community in Uganda. Because of the bill, they've gotten a lot of attention. They've gotten funding. Frank Mugisha, who runs the SMUG, which stands for Sexual Minority Uganda, got the RFK Award, which came with support from the Robert F. Kennedy Center and $1 million in support. So they are thriving. It's every day their lives are at risk. It is very dangerous work, but they refuse to give up, and it's a struggle. But because of the attention the bill has gotten, it's brought who they are and this to the forefront. Ugandans used to say, they say there are no homosexuals in Uganda, and the community there is like, we're here and we're Ugandan, and we're not going to change.
Before we go, did you want to talk about the average of the film?
So we believe that the battle for equality has a very, very, very important front line in faith communities, and our goal now at this stage of the campaign is to bring this conversation and bring a substantive dialogue to faith communities. So we leave you with a mission, which is that if you have a faith community where you think this conversation could be had and should be had, please go to our website, www.godlovesuganda.com, and all we'll ask is for your information. Tell us where you are, tell us your email, and we're going to start a conversation with you about bringing this to your world. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you for being part of this conversation. Don't forget to vote.